Hi, welcome to part 2 of my birthday book haul online shopping series. So I will link part 1 upar above. In part 1 we covered my personal curriculum subcategories, which were, so if you're interested in books about how to discourse like respectfully without losing your shit, not biting the hook, like letting go of like emotions that can be destructive sometimes, books about anti-capitalism, feminism, race, class, caste, books about nature, climate change, writing, and books about social change. That book list was insane, so go watch that video. This is part 2. So in part 2 I'm going to be discussing the other categories of books I want to buy, which is favorite authors and potential favorites, classics, recent saves, which just refers to like the recent books I've seen on BookTube that I want to read, and the last category is hot girl nonfiction, which refers to a wish list that I have on Amazon. I am not going to be taking you book shopping with me because there are no aesthetic cute bookshops around here unless you count Crossword. So anytime I look here, I'm looking at my notes, my laptop. I'm just gonna be like online shopping right now. Let's start with the second category. The first one was the previous video. That was my personal curriculum. The second category is favorite authors and potential favorites. My favorite authors I've written here. There's Hanif Abdurraqib. He writes essays, cultural criticism. He writes a lot about music. Even his Instagram stories are like works of art, like the way that this man thinks and writes and like organizes his thoughts and feelings about issues is just amazing. So check out his work. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing here is I'll go through my different categories and add books that I feel like I want to immediately read or like read in the next couple of months to my birthday list, my birthday book list. And you will also obviously get great recommendations as I'm doing this. So we have A Little Devil in America in Praise of Black Performance by Hanif Abdurraqib. We have They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us by Hanif Abdurraqib. Then we have The Crown Ain't Worth Much, which is a fantastic poetry collection by Hanif Abdurraqib. We have A Fortune for Your Disaster by Hanif Abdurraqib. We have, this is the third book by Hanif Abdurraqib. It is a love letter to a group, a sound, and an era. It is called Go Ahead in the Rain, Notes to a Tribe Called Quest. Then we have Sing Aritha Sing by Hanif Abdurraqib. I think that's all he's written. Yeah, the one that I'm most excited about by him is There's Always This Year. On Basketball and Ascension by Hanif Abdurraqib. If you can't tell, this man is like, okay, quick story time. So like when I was like 19 or something, I had just gotten into poetry and spoken word and stuff like that, and I was reading like, it's okay, so the first block that you see up there, like up there, yeah, that has my absolute favorite books that I've ever read so far. So we have in that There's Always This Year, which was his collection of poetry, and I read it and I remember like there was this one poem that I read and I just howled into a pillow and I was like crying because I was like, this person, this man, like there's so many differences with us, right? He's a man, he's like much older, he lives in Ohio, I live in India, I'm a woman, I'm much younger, like different races, different everything. But I felt like there is this human being that I have discovered who feels the exact same way that I feel. And none of our like experiences are common either, but like I'm talking about the way that you feel is the same. I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah, I was so moved at the time. And also because you're at that age, you know, like end of teens and like young adult, where you're like just extra hit by everything, especially if you're a poet. But like that was really cool. Since then I was like, I just want to read everything he's written. Anyway, There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension. So I will read you the book blurbs of the books that I want to add to my immediate like list. So we have here There's Always This Year. The book blurb goes, it might do all of us some good to reconsider what making it even means. Growing up in Columbus, Ohio in the 1990s, Hanif Abdurraqib witnessed a golden era of basketball, one in which legends like LeBron James were forged and countless others weren't. His lifelong love of the game leads Abdurraqib into a lyrical, historical, and emotionally rich exploration of what it means to make it, who we think deserves success, the tension between excellence and expectation, the very notion of role models, all of which he expertly weaves together with intimate personal storytelling. There's Always This Year is a triumph from one of America's most celebrated and insightful writers. It brims with joy, pain, solidarity, comfort, outrage, and hope, no matter the subject. Abdurraqib's Exquisite writing is always poetry, always profound, and always a clarion call to radically reimagine how we think about our culture and ourselves. Stunning book. Blurb. After everything I've just said, I don't think I'm adding it to my book list, like to my birthday book list, because I definitely want to read this at some point this year, but like I've already exceeded my budget, so I can only like get what is really hitting me right now. Like really like, you know what I mean. So all of these are great book recommendations. I will be reading them at some point. I urge you to go and buy these and read these, but I'm gonna skip this one right now. Now let's move on to the next author, who is William Somerset Maugham. So I've saved a lot of books by him. Okay, this one is reminding me a lot of Human Bondage. So this one is called Holiday by William Somerset Maugham. It reads a coming-of-age novel that moves from genteel British society to the grim underworld of Paris before the war. At the age of 23, Charlie Mason is endowed with good looks, good manners, and a cheerful disposition. Following 3 years at Cambridge and working in his father's business, he is looking forward to a jaunt in Paris with one of his oldest friends. Yet Paris is not what he expects. In just a few days, his young eyes are open to the tragedies and ugly dramas of its underworld. Yeah, this is just reminding me of Human Bondage. Okay, this sounds so good. Listen to this. This one is called Up at the Villa by Somerset Maugham. In Up at the Villa, William Somerset Maugham portrays a wealthy young English woman who finds herself confronted rather brutally by the repercussions of whimsy. On the day her older and prosperous friend asks her to marry him, Mary Leonard demurs and decides to postpone her reply a few days. But driving into the hills above Florence alone that evening, Mary offers a ride to a handsome stranger, and suddenly her life is utterly irrevocably altered. For this stranger is a refugee of war, and he harbors more than one form of passion. Before morning, Mary will witness bloodshed. She will be forced to seek advice and assistance from an unsavory man, and she will have to face the truth about her own yearnings. Erotic, haunting, and maddeningly suspenseful, Up at the Villa is a masterful tale of temptation and the capricious nature of fate. That sounds so good. But like, so far the Maugham books I'm reading are not like calling out to me. So let's see. Okay, this one sounds good. It's called The Narrow Corner by Maugham. On his way home from a remote Pacific island, Dr. Saunders travels with two strangers, the treacherous Captain Nichols and Fred, a handsome Australian with a shadowy past. Driven to shelter from a storm on the island of Kanda, the trio meet good-natured Eric Christensen and his fiancée, the cool and beautiful Louise. A tense, exotic tale of love, jealousy, murder, and suicide, which evolved from a passage in Maugham earlier masterpiece, The Moon and Sixpence. I'm gonna add this one. This is the first book from this category of favorite authors and potential favorites that I'm adding to my birthday book list. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna get from William Somerset Maugham for now. I will quickly read you the titles of the books that I'm interested in reading at some point, just not now. So these are all by William Somerset Maugham, and they are The Gentleman in the Parlor, On a Chinese Screen, The Merry-Go-Round, The Constant Wife, Catalina, The Summing Up, Rain, Magician, Christmas Holiday, Theatre, Up at the Villa, The Razor's Edge, The Painted Veil, A Writer's Notebook, The Moon and Sixpence, The Narrow Corner, and Mrs. Craddock. Okay, let's move on to the next author, J.M. Coetzee. I'm so excited for him. Oh my god. Okay, so for J.M. Coetzee, I feel like my battery is running out, so I'm gonna read you the list of titles I want to read by him first, and then I will select which one I'll add or which ones I'll add to my birthday list. Okay, so we have the Nobel Lecture in Literature 2003. We have The Lives of Animals. This, like, if you're someone who's considering veganism or just interested in the debates, the ethics and morality, and you know, just like the whole subject of veganism, vegetarianism, non-vegetarianism, like how all of that, then, and like considering that from multiple standpoints and different views, you should read that. Boyhood, Summertime, J.M. Coetzee and the Life of Writing, J.M. Coetzee, A Life in Writing. I think both of those are biographies. J.M. Coetzee, Scenes from a Provincial Life. I think that is a novel. Then we have Diary of a Bad Year, Stranger Shores, Life and Times of Michael K. Late Essays. So the previous three titles I read were novels, I believe, and then Late Essays 2006 to 2017. Then we have Elizabeth Costello. This sounds amazing. Okay, listen to the book blurb. This is called Elizabeth Costello by J.M. Coetzee. Elizabeth Costello is an Australian writer of international renown, famous principally for an early novel that established her reputation She has reached the stage where her remaining function is to be venerated and applauded. Her life has become a series of engagements in sterile conference rooms throughout the world, a private consciousness obliged to reveal itself to a curious public, the presentation of a major award at an American college where she is required to deliver a lecture, a sojourn as the writer in residence on a cruise liner, a visit to her sister, a missionary in Africa who is receiving an honorary degree, an occasion which both recognize as the final opportunity for effecting some form of reconciliation, and a disquieting appearance at a writers' conference in Amsterdam where she finds the subject of her talk unexpectedly amongst the audience. She has made her life's work the study of other people, yet now it is she who is the object of scrutiny. But for her, what matters is the continuing search for a means of articulating her vision and the verdict of future generations. Yeah, that just sounded super interesting, but I'm not gonna get it right now. So I'll continue reading the titles by James Coetzee that I want to read at some point. So moving on, we have Slow Man by James Coetzee, The Childhood of Jesus. This is like a whole trilogy. The Childhood of Jesus and something else Jesus. So it's a trilogy by James Coetzee. Then there is The Pole and Other Stories. There is Age of Iron. There is Youth. There is The Master of Petersburg, Waiting for the Barbarians, Disgrace, Foe. Yeah, those are all the titles I have for James Coetzee. The ones that like really struck out to me, I think Youth was one that I really wanted to read. So I'll read the blurb to you. Youth's narrator, a student in 1950s South Africa, has long been plotting an escape from his native country. Studying mathematics, reading poetry, saving money, he tries to ensure that when he arrives in the real world, he will be prepared to experience life to its full intensity and transform it into art. Arriving at last in London, however, he finds neither poetry nor romance. Instead, he succumbs to the monotony of life as a computer programmer from which random loveless affairs offer no relief. This is also reminding me of human bondage. Devoid of inspiration, he stops writing and begins a dark pilgrimage in which he is continually tested and continually found wanting. Set against the background of the 1960s, Youth is a remarkable portrait of a consciousness turning in on itself. James Coetzee explores a young man's struggle to find his way in the world with tenderness and a fierce clarity. This is book 2 of 3 in Scenes from a Provincial Life, which means, okay, so the first one is Boyhood, the second one is Scenes from a Provincial Life, and the third one is Summertime. Okay, so this is that trilogy. Again, all of them sound amazing, so check them out. And then the other one that really stuck out to me was Foe, also by James Coetzee. So I'll read the blurb of that for you. Okay, so this is Foe. Nobel laureate and 2-time Booker Prize winning author James Coetzee reimagines Daniel Defoe's classic novel Robinson Crusoe in Foe. In an act of breathtaking imagination, James Coetzee radically reinvents the story of Robinson Crusoe. In the early 18th century, Susan Barton finds herself adrift from a mutinous ship and cast ashore on a remote desert island. There she finds shelter with its only other inhabitants, a man named Crusoe and his tongueless slave Friday. In time, she builds a life for herself as Crusoe's companion and eventually his lover. At last, they are rescued by a passing ship, but only she and Friday survive the journey back to London. Determined to have her story told, she pursues the eminent man of letters, Daniel Foe, in the hope that he will relate truthfully her memories to the world. But with Crusoe dead, Friday incapable of speech, and Foe himself intent on reshaping her narrative, Barton struggles to maintain her grip on the past, only to fall victim to the seduction of storytelling itself. Treacherous, elegant, and unexpectedly moving, Foe remains one of the most exquisitely composed of this preeminent author's works. Like, that sounds so good. So I'm adding this to my birthday list as well. And then let me just go through another couple of his books to see if there's like anything else by him I want to add. I hope I like his writing. I think I really will. Like, I've already put him on a pedestal. I've not read a single thing by him yet. Okay, so that's all. I'm just getting the one book by James Coetzee. So that's all for my favorite authors and potential faves category. The next category is classics and recent saves. I feel like this is turning into a long video, so I might do a part 3 where I'll discuss classics and recent saves, because I feel like those are also going to be a lot. So I'll go through those recommendations later. I'll just quickly go through a list of mine. The last category is hardcore nonfiction. So let's see if there's something in there that is like screaming out to me. So the recommendations I have for you here, I'll just run through the titles really quickly. The first one we have is Borders, a very short introduction by Alexander C. Dienor and Joshua Hagen. The next one I have for you is Against Interpretation and Other Essays by Susan Sontag, the definition of hardcore nonfiction. You Have a New Memory by Aidan Arata, How We Learn by Benedict Carey, Consolations, the Solace, Nourishment, and Underlying Meanings of Everyday Words. That one is great. Too Much or Not the Mood by Durga Chu Bose. Woman, Race and Class by Angela Y. Davis. How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy by Jenny Odell. Things I Don't Want to Know, Living Autobiography 1. I believe this is part of a trilogy or loose trilogy by Deborah Levy. Right Wing Woman by Andrea Dworkin. On Mysticism, The Experience of Ecstasy by Simon Critchley. Naive and the Sentimental Novelist by Orhan Pamuk. Rebel Ideas by Matthew Syed. And Toward a Psychology of Being by Abraham H. Maslow. This is one I wanted to read for so long. Then I have for you ACT Made Simple, an easy to read primer on acceptance and commitment therapy. Yeah, acceptance and commitment therapy. The last couple of books I have for you is called, one of them is Creating a Life, Finding Your Individual Path by James Hollis. Personification, Using the Dialogical Self in Psychotherapy and Counseling. Wow, I don't remember adding that to the list. The next book is All the Safety is Killing Us, Health Justice Beyond Persons, Police and Borders by Ronika Mukherjee and Carlos Martinez. The next book is Authority Essays by Andrea Long Chu. Next book is High Conflict, Why We Get Trapped and How We Get Out by Amanda Ripley. The Costs of Connection, How Data is Colonizing Human Life and Appropriating It for Capitalism by Nick Colry and Ulysses A. Megius. I'm pretty sure I've gotten that wrong, the pronunciation. Media Life by Mark Deuze. Exposure by Olivia Sujic. Ways of Seeing by John Berger. Outraged, Why Everyone is Shouting and No One is Talking by Ashley Dottie Charles. Self-Help Inc. Makeover Culture in American Life by Mickey McGee. Still Life with Oysters and Lemon by Mark Doty. Uneasy Listening, Notes on Hearing and Being Heard by Anushka Gross. Robert Brewer Young. Figuring by Maria Popova. She is the author of Marginalien, the blog series. The Sovereignty of Good by Iris Murdoch. The Brain Dead Megaphone by George Saunders. The Ethics of Ambiguity by Simone de Beauvoir. Funny Weather, Art and Emergency by Olivia Lang. I started reading this yesterday. This is amazing. Ugly Feelings, From the Hippocratics to the Christians by Sian Guy. All Things Are Too Small, Essays in Praise of Excess by Becca Rothfeld. Confabulations by John Berger. This is the third John Berger in the list. 41 False Starts, Essays on Artists and Writers by Jeanette Malcolm. Living, Thinking, Looking by Siri Hustvedt. Any Person is the Only Self, Essays by Eliza Gabbard. No Judgment on Being Critical by Lauren Euler. Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. Beyond Measure, Essays by Rachel Z. Arndt. What If This Were Enough by Heather Havrilesky. Source of Self-Regard, Selected Essays, Speeches and Meditations by Toni Morrison. Bird by Bird, Some Instructions on Writing and Life by Anne Lamott. That is the end of the list. That sounds like fantastic nonfiction. So I'm going to go through these on my own. Like, look at the book blurbs, remind myself what these books were about, and add a couple of them, or more than a couple of them, to my birthday book list. So I'm going to go now because, like, my throat is drying up. I've just been talking so much. I think that is a good list, and you should, like, go through those and pick out some books of your own. In the part 3 of this video, I will be talking about classics and my recent books, mostly I think literary fiction that I've been seeing forming around on BookTube that I want to read myself. That'll be the third video. Go watch the first one if you want to get another great list of book recommendations, especially books on how to make socio-political change. Yeah, I think this is the end of the video, and I hope you got some great picks from this. And if you're interested in, listening to me yap about emotional health, art, creativity, philosophy, etc., then follow along, subscribe, like, comment, etc. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.